We're talking about Jennilee Austria-Bonifacio with the debut novel Reuniting with Strangers, longlisted for Canada Reads 2024, named one of the CBC's best books of 2023, finalist for Jim Wong-Chu's Emerging Writers Award. Everybody, Jennilee Austria-Bonifacio, give her a big hand.
It feels a bit like WrestleMania when he introduces us. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys for having us today. This is my very first LiterASIAN, and I feel this is so much better than the other literary festivals. Can I just say the food? I mean, we've got the wine, the company. Nothing's better than this. Nothing's better than this. Oh my gosh. Thank you to everybody who came out today. This is my debut novel. Who was there last night when we did the panel? Show of hands, anybody? Okay, great. So I will read something different. That way we all keep it fresh. Something that I don't usually read, and we're going to make it interactive because I'm a youth worker. And so there's going to be a part. This is about language. I'm going to teach you a little bit of Tagalog. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to say the Tagalog word, and then I'm going to point to you, and then you're going to repeat it. And then we're going to fill this room with the language of my ancestors because, let's just summon them tonight, right? So, basically this book is inspired by all the community work I've been doing with Filipinos and families who are undergoing family reunification. It's a lot of stress. It's a very big challenges when you talk to these families because they've been apart for many, many, many years. So that's why it's called Reuniting with Strangers. So we're going to go to chapter 2. In this chapter, what's happening is there is a caregiver who has been hired by her own cousin. And this is something that people don't really talk about in the Filipino community. Oftentimes you think that the employers are like white people that are hiring Filipinos, but no, we actually do also hire our own as a way to sponsor cousins to come to Canada as well, right? This is our chain migration nowadays. So in this chapter, we have a very sassy caregiver cousin who's a little bit bitter about what she's been seeing. And we're in Montreal, okay? Section 5 of the Caregiver's Instruction Manual. It has taken me a long time to come to this realization, but you and we have to pity ma'am. Before I explain to you about using Tagalog in the house, you have to understand where she's coming from. She grew up in a rural Quebecois town called Bedford in the 1970s, at a time when there were no Filipinos in books or in television, no Filipino songs on the radio, no Filipinos in politics or in the movies. There was no one for her to look up to. Her parents worked as home care nurses, struggling so much as they mastered French that they never spoke Tagalog to her. They didn't introduce her to any Filipino children because there just weren't any. They sent her to schools where she wasn't just the only Filipino, but she was the only student with black hair. Ma'am didn't grow up like us. She didn't grow up learning about national heroes like Jose Rizal and Andres Bonifacio and Gabriela Silang. She didn't know about Gloria Diaz being the first Pinay to win Miss Universe. Or Maria Orosa being the first person to bring banana ketchup from Batangas to the world. Or Dado Banatao and his amazing journey from Cagayan Valley farm boy to Silicon Valley billionaire. Nobody told her anything. For her, the Philippines wasn't a place to admire, to honor, to respect. It was just a place that her parents left behind. So, try to be empathetic towards ma'am when she asks you not to speak Tagalog to the children. Since they are learning French and English, she'll say they might get confused. But as you know, back home, children learn Filipino and English, and some even go to special schools to learn Mandarin or Korean or German. A child's mind is elastic and capable of so much, but ma'am doesn't see it like that. So when you get frustrated, remember that ma'am is already being kind because they aren't making you learn French. So in return, even the smallest Tagalog words are off limits. I know what you want to say, though. She wants you to say ouchie, but you want to say aray, aray. 1, 2, 3, aray. Woo. Instead of saying oopsie, you want to say ay, ay. And instead of saying please don't do that, you want to say wug, wug. That's very good. And above all, remember that ma'am doesn't want them to learn po and opo. Say po, po, and opo, opo. May I have this po? Can I play downstairs po? Opo, madam. She doesn't want you to say any of this. But it's a sign of respect to the elders, you'll say. You'll think that you're already making it easier by not asking the children to learn how to use ho like Batangueños, but she won't see it this way. Those words are so old-fashioned. We don't use them in Canada, she'll snap back. And it's not that she thinks that the kids shouldn't learn about the Philippines. If there's an earthquake, or a volcanic eruption, or a typhoon, ma'am will point it out when it shows up on the news. Kids, look at what's happening in the Philippines. She'll say, pointing to horrific images flashing on TV, see, not everyone is fortunate enough to live in Montreal. When the disaster is especially bad, ma'am will look at you with concern and ask you if you know anyone affected. And even if you actually do, you must always say no. Why? Because then ma'am will want to make them a balikbayan box. Note though, she'll want to call it a care package. And she'll fill it with the most useless things. Old plates that are one chip away from shattering, baby onesies with food stains on the front, old puzzles with missing pieces, children's toys that need batteries, but she won't send batteries. She'll send plastic containers and plastic cutlery that she collected from takeout meals, overpowering perfume-scented candles that she was planning on regifting anyway, a few pairs of stilettos with broken heels, and a bunch of tarnished necklaces that all get tangled up together in a reused Ziploc bag. And when she mails all of this junk to your affected friend, you will get a bewildered all-caps text in the middle of the night that says, "Hoy! Hoy! Why did you send me Canadian garbage?" And although you'll have to say this, you'll have to say that it comes from a good place, even though if you're not totally sure if it does. Thank you.